Hello everyone. Right. There are updates on John, but I'm going to leave them till probably Thursday because they're very interesting. But I want to concentrate on the Philip DeFranco situation first. Now, there's a lot of hoo-ha going on at the minute. Has been for about the last week. And when I first saw Cavoz's video on this, I was pissed. Now, I'm going to start by saying I do have a bias. I'm a big fan of Phil's. I've been watching Phil for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and I really do admire what he's done. I really do appreciate what he does on a daily basis, and I appreciate the ethic and the commitment he shows. Also, while I have never owned a business per se myself, I have worked for some excellent businesses in the past. My last long-term employment that I had before I became unable to work, which was just shy of 6 years, I worked for a company, and the boss was very good at telling people how he worked and why he made the decisions he made, and it was sort of like he was training you on how to be a businessman as well. So I understand a lot of the decisions Phil's making as a businessman. Now, some people might not. I am going to explain some of these situations again in this video. I have touched on a few of the things I'm going to talk about prior when I've talked about the Voldemort of YouTube. I'm not going to say his name, and several other people. While I don't have the best opinion of Patreon, I do get why in certain instances it's worth having. And I'll do a separate video on Patreon another day. This is more specifically talking about Phil's Patreon and why people have an issue with it. Cavos, I should have got this video up. YouTube, that's my fault. I was starting to like his videos until I watched this one and I was like, nope, done. 6 days ago, he did a video titled Philip DeFranco is scamming you. I will show you my screen so that you can see what I'm looking at. This here is the video I'm in question. And basically he's saying that because of a few small factors, Phil's actually scamming the people who donate to his Patreon. Now, the major issues is Skurse tweeted that he never got his t-shirt, and then but there was ways of finding out why he didn't, and actually contacting people at the office who would have sorted that out for him. The fact that on the Patreon, which I will show you, which is here, he doesn't show the amount he's donated, and because for the vast majority of instances you don't see a lot of, if you watch this channel, which is the main channel, which is the main PDS, or Philip DeFranco show, in its long-handed way, and you watch it now to a year ago, it doesn't look much different, which it was done on purpose. However, if you were to watch this channel, which is the vlog, you will know what is going on and why what's going on is going on. And he, although he doesn't go into full depth on some of the situations, because obviously The people that are actually on the Patreon get live streams, they get what's called town halls, they get access to Discord and things like that, where they've actually got like a one-to-one connection with him, and they've got more chance of getting responses back. And he gives more updates. If you watch the vlog, there are updates within the vlog. Now, sorry, I have a cold coming on. Right, so go back onto this bit for a minute, because I'm going to start blabbering at you now. I have some points. Now, like I say, Skirts didn't receive a few of his items that he got with his donation, shall we say. Which, again, wasn't necessarily Phil's fault. It could have been a postal issue or a courier issue. I don't know. If you'd have contacted Phil through the Patreon app, he has people that deal. There's two girls, lovely young ladies that deal with everything Patreon related, and they would have dealt with it instantly. Kavos was going on about he has an editor and maybe he has a couple of researchers. He has 16 to 17 members of staff, which includes people who manage Patreon, which there is 2. He has 3 researchers. He has an editor. He has an assistant. He has the person who manages all the offices. He has another person who does social media. He has a graphics designer that does all the designing for the thumbnails and does all the designing for the t-shirts and the posters and things like that. And then you've also got 3 or 4 guys that do all the set build-ups, because there isn't just the one set. And if Kavos had done a little bit of research, he'd have found that there is more than one set. And it isn't the same building that used to be the SourceFed studios. That's long gone, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, actually no, it's part of this one. And he's no longer at the old offices, he's now at a new office. The old office, the big office that he shared with SourceFed, SourceFed Nerd and the other channels that were part of the Discovery deal. He couldn't afford to keep that office just working as himself. He needed to downsize, because the others that did keep the job that were part of SourceFed, or the group of channels that was originally Phil's but became Discovery's, that if he had stayed there, the Patreon wouldn't have been able to save him at all. He couldn't financially stay there and have a feasible overhead. And I'll explain what overheads are soon. But he wouldn't be able to stay at the same office, because everybody else was moving out. There would have been nobody to share the rent with, and it would all be on Phil's head. He's now independent. He was, up until April, signed to Discovery. In April, he managed to somehow buy his channel back. He wasn't able to buy the others back, but I think part of that was because of the fact that while he has some money, I don't think he's as rich as people make it out to it. And there is another factor when it comes to that I will get to towards the end, on the whole money issue that Kavos is going on about. But I'll explain what that is. While Phil was with Discovery, he wasn't allowed to touch certain subjects because they wouldn't let him. When he was given the opportunity to be independent, where he would not be owned by a company like Discovery or any other company that wanted to buy his show, he wants it to be independent, so his views couldn't be bought or poisoned in any way. Very much like, it's one of the reasons why he's very dubious of the whole Casey Neistat Beams deal that he did with, I think it was CNN or whatever. But he doesn't want there to even be a possibility of an interpretation of influence by another company. He wants to be on his own. And that's how he works his best. So, you know, if he wants, right, he wants to be fair and even voice in the nasty bad world that we currently live in. He's known and he's well respected on YouTube for being even, for being kind, for being respectful, for being fair. But he will give you the facts and then he will give you his opinion. And if you differ in the opinion, that's fine, but at least he's giving you the facts before he's giving you his opinion. The other major news network on YouTube doesn't do that. There's a video about that. When this video is saved, I'll put that up in the iCard for you. He doesn't make much money through AdSense because a lot of his videos get demonetized because of the topics he talks about. I'll use tonight's video as an example. It's literally just gone live like about just less than half an hour ago. And a couple of the topics instantly made his video demonetized. And that happens probably more often than not. And he gets very little to no AdSense money, I would pretty much gauge. And because he doesn't have the safety cushion like a lot of us do, of being able to leave it private for a couple of days, see if it gets monetized. Then if it gets monetized, then release it. Because his is that day's news, the news for the last 24 hours, or the last couple of days, he has to release it there and then. If he releases it a few days later, it's pointless. So, right, in the video, right, I'll go back to sharing my screen. Right, in this video here, it's time for you to know, which is the video where he's actually explaining what's happened, that he's brought his channel back from Discovery, and what his plan was. In this video, he actually explains that he's invested some of his own money in the business, but because he wants to be held accountable by people that watch him, and also because he wants to involve the people that watch him, the loyal fans, the loyal, the loyal people that are, very big followers of his. He wants them to be able to be a part of the project. Now, this is where the business side comes in. He's invested his own money into the company, but he can't invest everything for several reasons. Number one, and this is something Phil says anytime he mentions anything to do with investments, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's, regardless of what it is. Sorry, I'm just trying to tell that when I'm taking a deep breath, I don't breathe into the mic for you. Only ever invest, regardless of what it is, money that you are willing to lose. So say for example, Phil has, and I'm guessing, say Phil has, say, 3-4 million in the bank. He might have, say he had that in the bank about a year ago. He would have lost some of that money to buying back his channel. Then he would have lost some of that money with getting the new offices before the Patreon was set up. So he would have had to pay out of pocket for that. The first couple of months' wages for everybody. Setting up all the insurances that you need to run a business. He learnt not investing everything that you have in a business on something when he did SourceFed Nerd, because the first, whether it was SourceFed Nerd or SourceFed, can't remember which, but he did explain it, that for the first year it made no money. So there is a video about this. For the first year it made no money and he was funding it out of his own pocket, and he learned from that not to do that unless it's absolutely necessary. Obviously he probably did it for the first month or two where everything came out of his pocket. Where for the first couple of weeks they were in a Airbnb, and then after that they found the office, and then obviously they had to start getting everything set up, and by the time they did this video here they got the new office, and this is when they did the call out for the Patreon. Right. He has to live. He has a house. He has a family. He has to pay the mortgage on the house because it isn't owned. They have to pay for healthcare for him, his wife, and his children. He's entitled to holidays. He's got Trey's and Carter's Christmas funds. Retirement. Insurance policies for all the family, as well as cars and everything else, and alarms and everything else, as well as cars, life, and other investments that he has. Also, sinking all the money you earn into a business is bad business sense. And anybody who has any bones about them when it comes to businesses would know this and would tell you this within an instant. And they would tell you within an instant that investing everything you have in a business is idiotic. If you have money to spare, then yes, by all means, invest the spare money into something. And he's probably done that. Another thing you've got to remember is living in a place like LA is very expensive. The houses are very expensive. He has no family in LA other than his wife and children. His dad does visit often, and as does Lindsay's mum and dad. But there isn't a large amount of a network where, other than the people he works with and several people in the business, where he actually truly feels safe. And this is part of what Kavos was on about, and there's another part of it that I'll go into at another point. He doesn't have hundreds of millions, and I would go as far as to say he doesn't have thousands of millions. He probably has somewhere from 3 to 20, and he's probably invested quite a lot of that in getting his channel back off of Discovery and paying for the first few months out of pocket. Like I said, rent in LA isn't cheap, whether it's commercial rent or private rent, and considering he has to think of both. So there. Right. Right. He also, like I'm supposed to mention this before, he wants his fans to have an involvement in the creation of Rogue Rocket, which is the name of his network company, I think. I've heard it mentioned on the vlog a few times. I'm thinking that's what they're edging towards. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking that's what they're edging towards. And he wants them to have an influence. He wants them to have a say. He wants them to have, more of a connection with it. He doesn't see Patreon as donations. He sees it as a way of people paying like a subscription. Because, in a way, it is. Because they're donating to him, and then they're getting content back. They get live streams, they get town halls, they get Discord, they get swag, they get discount codes for t-shirts and things like that. They get a lot. Not like some where you might get a couple of videos and that's about it. Excuse me. I am sorry about that. So he doesn't see it as a donation. He sees it as a subscription. Now, TY2 do a subscription, but they do it through their own website. So, but I've got another point to say about that later. There are other things, and this is something that Kavos would have learned if he'd watched a couple of the vlogs. There are other things that are on the works, but they're ironing out kinks. What they do is they start looking at projects, and they start thinking about how to put it into place, which is why they're playing sets, which is why they have a couple of set builders. They also have people that do a lot of the technical stuff for live streaming and things like that, which is all complicated, obviously. And it's not the type of stuff Phil can do on his own. And they are still ironing out the things, but because he wants everything to be, because he's a perfectionist, he wants everything to be perfect. He wants the people that are going to be in front of the camera to be the type of people that you're going to relate to, that you're going to understand, and that you're going to be comfortable with, like we are with Phil. And he is incredibly picky about his stuff. If you watch the vlog channel, you will know how picky he is with his stuff, and that's how he's become a good businessman. You don't become a good businessman just by employing random people. He doesn't show the amount because he sees it as a subscription. Much like if you were signing up to Netflix, would you want to see how much they earn yearly? Now, you can get an estimate, but you can't get the exact amount after tax and before tax. Why are you entitled to get that from Phil? Why does Phil owe everybody the nitty-gritty details of his finances? I don't get it. There is a need for a new office because the amount of stuff he's got has grown too big for the office he currently has. One room that was meant to be a meeting room is now where the research guys are. One room that was a storeroom is now an office for the Patreon girls. The editing office, which is where Amanda, Rhiannon, the editor, the graphic designer, and a couple of others, and Phil's other desk are set. And there's Phil's office, and then there's the room where they do most of the live streaming. Sometimes it's in his office and sometimes it's in a different room, but the live streaming I'm talking about aren't generally the live streams we see. They're the ones for the Patreon guys, not us. So there is a need for a new office, and I think that's one of the things that they're working on for next year. I'm just trying to make sure you can't. No, you're alright. Hang on, wise. Get the document back up. There we go. If he was to edit his own videos, as Kavos says, why don't you just edit your own videos? First of all, another person who's saying this is Keemstar, who's video editing and photo editing for his thumbnails. I know mine's pretty bad, but I've got an excuse. What's his? My excuse is my computer's nearly 8 years old, and it runs pretty much on basic software. And it sometimes struggles with live streams, as you've probably found out in the past. but Keemstar and Kavos want Phil to be, "Hey Tim, how are you? I've got a new cushion, by the way. Sorry guys, I'll be back in a sec. It's a rainbow one. My husband told me to mention it next time you're on." Right, back to the point. But yeah, if Phil was to edit his own videos and thumbnails, it wouldn't have the effects or the eye-catching things that it has now. It would be cheap and nasty, and Phil does not want that. He does not want that in any way, shape, size, or form. Also, he has. I will do, Tim. I will. He also has researchers because he wants to get everything right, unlike Keemstar, who gets things wrong, and even accused somebody of being not a very nice person in the past because somebody got the research wrong. But he's not the only one. He has a reputation of being fair, even man, and people respect him a lot, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are doing videos saying, look, Kavos and Keem are talking out like, nah, forget it. He addressed this on the H3 podcast, which is the first link down in the description, and he explains the whole thing. Ethan asks a question, he explains it. He goes into depth why they don't show it. He talks about Kavos, although not by name. He still talks about it. And no, the money has not gone on 2 pillows and some lights. It's gone a new office, staff to ensure the information is correct, staff who are building new shows and looking at what is needed and what the audience wants while fine-tuning the new shows and getting the staff and getting the information and getting all that. It takes time and it takes money. That's the way businesses work. Phil needs to make sure everything's going well and keep his reputation in place as he progresses along in his business. He has a reputation and he has to keep that. It's that simple. He has a reputation and he needs to keep it the best he can. And the best way to do that is to ensure you've got the right staff, the right information, the right environment, and the right formula for the show. And that's what he's working on. But like I say, he's a perfectionist, so it's taking time. Phil wants to make sure. He also has to insure the company. Every company has to have insurance so that if anybody's damaged on the premises, if anybody has an accident on the premises, that the company's insurance will cover that, allowing them to get money from lost wages, whatever, or things like that. I think he does have company benefits as well, but I'm not sure what they are. His main channel videos have gone from 6 to 9 minutes to nearly 20 minutes per video. Because one of the things Kavos was saying, so we've gone from 5 videos a day to 4 videos a day when you were supposed to be going up to 7. Like I say, again, he can't do 7 videos a week. And if he was to try and do that, he'd never see his family. Same as if he was editing his own videos, he'd never see his family. So he has staff to do these jobs so that it's not all landing on him, because he has a family that he needs to spend time with. And then there's the fact that the one thing people forget when it comes to Phil, and I don't know why people forget it, we all know what happened with DO5. I'm not saying the full words, but I think you know what I mean. And if it wasn't for Phil, those kids would still be in that position. And they wouldn't be with their birth mother. It was Phil that said, hold on, someone's not right here. It was Phil that spoke up. There's also taxes, a lot of taxes. When you own a business, there's taxes. And where there's taxes, there's accountants. It is my local time. Sorry, Tim's asking me what time it is here. It's nearly 11:30 at night. I'm doing this video, this live stream, and then I'm hitting the hay. I've been up since 7 this morning, so it's been a long day. And we nipped into town for a few bits. So I've been getting some drawing supplies because I started drawing again. Also, and this is one point that Monday Matt mentioned, his videos also down below, is that it's no one's done business what Phil does with the money. Obviously, the people on Patreon do have a right to know, and he is telling them. But those that aren't paying attention to what's being said, or don't understand what's being said, or don't want to understand what's being said, will not pay attention to what's being said and just make up their own shit like Kavos did. Kavos and King, if you watch this video, you show your finances, and then maybe Phil will show his, though I think he won't. And considering that Phil has already made multiple successful channels in the past and multiple successful businesses in the past, so successful in fact that he sold them to Discovery. Are you guys a little jealous by any chance? Also, he has kids to think of, and that's why he has every decision. And another factor, Team Edge, they have editors. They have a lot of staff. Nobody calls them out on anything. Granted, they don't have a Patreon. And when Matt did start a Patreon, everybody kicked off, so he shut it down, which I think was wrong. I don't think he should have been bullied into shutting it down. But with the way YouTube is, I can't blame Matt for wanting to do something to try and ease the financial pressure on. Oh, go on, tell us, Tim. I'll just explain the new one while you type. The next one while you type. If Phil's a fraud, what about all the others that use Patreon? What about the Wojcicki? What about Blair? What about so many. There's so many. There's so many. There's a lot of people who use Patreon. And if he's a fraud, what makes them not a fraud? What about a certain person who will remain nameless, who raised money on Kickstarter or something like that, and she said she was going to do a series with all these videos. I think she did 6 out of 30. Granted, no business succeeds without taking risk, but the only problem with that is, when you have a family, you have to lessen the risk to yourself. And while he's invested some of his own money, he will not invest all of that money. A, because it's already tied up in other investments, and B, because he has a family, he has a mortgage, he has kids, he has college to pay for, healthcare to pay for, and all that stuff. I have a couple of questions, and then I've got a couple of points. Question number 1. Sometimes I'm not always free at 2. Namely because A, that's the time I record, or when we see his mum, that's pretty much what time we see his mum. It would be something I'd look into. I would definitely have a look into it and see what I can do and figure it out and try my best to do it as many days out of a week as I could, but I won't be able to do it all the time, if that makes sense, because there's a lot of other stuff I have to do. Life, it sucks. Life sucks and gets in the way sometimes, but I will definitely look into it. Thank you very much, Tim. Actual fact, what I will do is I will copy that and I will pop it down on my post it on the side of my screen. There you go. I've put it on my post-it on the side of my screen saying look into it. We'll do it, like I say, I'll have a look into it and then I will give you the heads up. Thank you very much, Tim. You're a really cool star. So, I'll go through these questions, and Tim, if you want to input anything, by all means, share. Would you question how much money TYT make through their website subscriptions for their fans, much like you're doing with Phil, much like Phil was doing with Patreon? I doubt it, because you just wouldn't. And because Phil's trying to better himself and get out of the umbrella of social commentary and into the area of news, there's some people in the social commentary network that are like, oh, he doesn't want to be around us anymore. There's lots of people in the social commentary network that you shake your heads at sometimes. And when I was watching Kavos' video, I was literally, I was mad. Also, this is something both Kavos and Keem did. You jumped in with no research. Exactly. There is multiple people when it comes to Phil's company, and he has to have that many people when you look at what goes on and what he's doing that people don't always see, because they don't always watch the vlog, and if they watch the vlog they understand it more. If Kavos and Keem had done the research, they'd know that there is information out there if you just look, and even Phil said that in the podcast. If you watch the vlog, there is information in there. Pay attention to it. Also, how do they expect him to make money if it's not Patreon or through sponsorships when he gets little to no money from AdSense? Exactly. Yeah, he's the face of the company, but he still needs money. Exactly. It's astounding how people forget that, yes, somebody's the thing of a company, but if you didn't have the other people working behind him, he wouldn't be half the man he is. He just wouldn't. Yeah, he's a great businessman, but he isn't able to do everything because there isn't enough time in a day to do the type of research he does, to do the type of show that he does with the edits that he wants to do. And like I said, there is so much going on behind the scenes. It's untrue, He's not for everybody, I will say that. Stephen isn't for everybody. Some people like him, some people don't. I personally do, but it is one of those things that sometimes with some people, I rub them the wrong way. Also, people seem to think that he's getting like 20,000 per sponsorship. Don't think so. That's more reserved for people with 5 to 10 million views a video, not 1 to 2 million views a video. Exactly. Also, does Keem or Kavos know exactly how much of Maker that Phil owned, because I think it was about this much. Because in the H3H3 podcast, he said he made nothing. And considering who the main people who were behind that was, and one of them was Phil. Phil, like I said, was a very small part of it. The rest were the main figures, not Phil. So he didn't get anything. When it sold, it went mainly to the major shareholders. Because just because you are one of the people that create something, or you're part of a group that creates something, unless you have a share in the business through contract or you own shares in the business, when that business sells, you don't get anything. And considering he was one of the founders of the company, he'd have to have shares in the company, or he'd have to own a part of the company to have got money from the sale. Also, why did he not call out Casey Neistat for his deal with Bean? For the same thing. You know, it's one of those things that people do crowdfunding for things and then people kick off at them for something that's completely asinine. Yes, there is a few issues I have with this. I agree that he does need to give more updates on what's going on, especially for those of us that aren't part of the whole Patreon thing, because some of us aren't always finding out what's going on straight away. If you watch the vlog, you do get more of a sense of what's going on because you see it, because it's a vlog and it's behind the scenes, so you get more information from the guys that are behind the camera, the work that make Phil the guy that he is, all that. Would I like if he showed how much he earned on Patreon? Yes. But whether he does it or not is completely up to him. Do I think he should move off Patreon and go on to a website that's his own, that has like a subscription thing element to it, where you get access to certain things, and they have a subscription thing where you get access to certain videos, etc. Would I appreciate that? Yes. Do I think that's the better idea? Yes. It's worked with TYT, but I know what Phil's trying to do. He's trying not to be another version of TYT, and it's one of those things that it's an issue that, yeah, because Patreon is seen as donations, so it's like charity, people automatically think that you should tell people what that money's being spent on, when in actual fact in this case it's like a subscription or an investment. So you know what I mean. And also as a part of the DeFranco elite, you do have an input on a lot of what's going on in the background. But again, Kavos and Keem haven't done the research, and they don't know that. And all Keemstar and Kavos have got to go off is that all this happens is because he hides what he earns on Patreon, and things are taking a little longer to work out, which is how business works. Like I said, I do enjoy watching Phil. I have a lot of respect for him. He's not for everybody, as Steven said. Some people don't like him, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. You're still welcome here, even if you don't agree with me. But I don't think that anything that Kavos said or that Keem said is grounded in any reality. And the vast majority of people are actually on Phil's side. There is in the description a few links for videos. There is the H3H3 podcast, Wild Sparta, I Am Alex, Monday Matt, Physiques, The White YouTuber, Slazo, and iMate's videos. They're all down below on the same topic, and we're all pretty much saying the same. There's a lot going on. that people don't know about, and obviously people don't understand business. Yes, you've got to spend money to make money. Phil has invested his own money, and there's a reason why people respect him, and there is a reason why he gets more respect than the Young Turks, because at least he doesn't sit there and rant for an hour like Cenk does. Like I said, I've already done that video. When this goes live as a video after it sits to be remonetized for a day, I will link the video that I'm referring to in the iCard. I'm not linking the other videos because there are too many. But that's it for me now, guys. Tim, I will definitely let you know on that information. I'll probably have to sit down with husband on Thursday or tomorrow and talk to him about it. But like I say, it won't be something I can consecutively do every day of the week. And I will try my best to do it as best I can, and we'll like I say, discuss it with the other iPhone, try to figure it out. I do. It's in the description, but I will type it in here now. It is actual fact. Numpty. I'll send you the link. Come on. It's this. Yeah, it's a funny Twitter, I know. But yeah, it's down in the description. That's my Twitter. Stephen, if you want to follow it, by all means, I'll be happy to have you over there. But like I say, I'll try my best to figure that out for you, Tim, and I'll let you know. And I will pass on your regards to the other half as well when he gets home in the morning. I'm gonna go to bed now, and I'm going to relax because tomorrow I've got a day of errands. But yeah, stay safe, guys. I will talk to you probably Thursday night. So be good, stay safe, and I will see you Thursday.